Ahoy mateys, and welcome to another meeting of the Tropical Rum Society. As always, I'm your host Matt, and today we're going to be talking about a favourite of uni students everywhere, Captain Morgan's Original Spiced Gold. First, we're going to talk a little bit about the Captain, then we're going to move on to talking about the rum itself, and finally we're going to give it a taste, and I'm going to try not to flash back to all those moments I've been curled over the top of a toilet after drinking this rum on a night out. I'm ready to go. I've got my most pirate-like shirt on, which is definitely meant to be because we're tying in with Captain Morgan and not because it's lost a button. So with that, let's get into it and talk a little bit about Captain Morgan. Pretty much anywhere you are in the world, you've probably seen Captain Morgan. It's a really well-known rum brand, which is just worldwide, and it's got some really great branding. So they're super popular in pubs and clubs and bars, wherever you are. I definitely remember this one time while I was up in the Gold Coast where they'd essentially taken over an entire bar. They had hats that they were giving to everyone, they had cannonballs that they were using as cups, and it was a really fun night. I also remember seeing those captain's hats for the rest of the week, and while it did make me remember the good time I had that night, it also kind of reminded me of that morning afterwards where it was not quite as fun of a time. So you might be wondering, where did the Captain actually come from? And when we're talking about the brand, it started in 1944 with a company called Seagram, and eventually it got bought out by Diageo, and now they're the ones who own Captain Morgan. But while we know the Captain Morgan character from the bottle and all of the advertisements and things like that, he's actually based on a real person. In the 1600s, there was a Welsh privateer by the name of Henry Morgan, who was over in the Caribbean and was given his letters of marque by the governor at the time to go and raid Spanish ships and steal all of their gold and wealth. He became really good at this and he managed to attack a number of Spanish ships, and from that he became quite a wealthy man. He used a number of the profits from his time as a buccaneer to buy a sugar plantation in Jamaica, and that's where he ended up kind of setting up shop. He became fairly powerful and influential and eventually actually got knighted and became the governor of Jamaica himself. So obviously with those associations of Jamaica and sugarcane and just the general rowdiness of privateering, it was pretty simple to turn him into a great character for a rum. That's why Seagram took the Captain, built a brand around him, and now, almost 80 years later, we're here talking about Spiced Gold Rum. So Spiced Gold Rum is kind of the granddaddy of all spiced rums. It's the one that you're probably going to think of if you're thinking of any kind of like easy to access, easy to begin with spiced rum. It's also a spirit that basically everyone loves to hate. It's something that you'd buy when you're kind of younger and you're first starting out drinking and you just want to have as many as possible. You don't really know what you're doing yet, you're pretty unrefined in your taste, and you just want to get drunk. And then when you kind of become a little bit more developed, look back on it and say, what was I thinking? In a number of countries, you need to have 37.5% to be able to call your drink a rum. This is actually only 35%, which makes it 70 proof. And that's not enough to technically call this a rum. If you take a close look down the bottom here, you'll see that it's original Spiced Gold spirit-based drink because, as I said, 35% only, which makes it definitely the weakest that we've had a look at during the Tropical Rum Society. When you look for it, there's some conflicting information because Captain Morgan does do an original spiced rum as well as the Spiced Gold. Those are not actually the same drink. So it's really easy to kind of confuse one for the other, especially when you're not looking super deep into that information. From what I've seen, it's likely that this is a Jamaican continuous stilled rum that's been aged in white oak barrels for at least a year, and then probably got some other stuff added into it as well. We don't actually know for sure. On the Captain Morgan website, all it says is that it's a secrets recipe of rum and spices, so take all that information with a grain of salt. They highly encourage you to use it as a mixer, so while you can drink it neat, it's often kind of better to add something else to it. On the label, they give the suggestion for a Captain and Cola, which is very simple to make. It's Captain, Cola, and a lime wedge. We're actually going to be making one at the end of today's video because I know that drinking this straight is probably not going to be the best taste I've ever had. So we're going to mix it up and literally mix it up, add some cola in there and see how that compares to just drinking Captain Morgan's straight. Let's get into a bit of the review with how it looks. As you can see, the bottle is very well presented. There's great branding, it's really unique and individual, and as soon as you see it, you just know that you're drinking Captain Morgan. The captain on the front of the label is pretty iconic, and you just know when you see his foot up on that barrel that he's just going to be tempting you to have a good time on a night out. The embossed glass is also a nice touch, especially on the back where we've got this detailed view of a ship, and just really adds that little something extra to make this bottle stand out. So as we pour this into our glass here, you can see that it's definitely a deep gold color, and I'm going to try and stop myself from overpouring it again this time. I did not manage to. Captain Morgan has said that it's as rich as a pocket full of gold doubloons. I guess correct? I've never seen a pocket full of gold doubloons, so I'm going to have to take their word for it. But I'm guessing that this is actually kind of added color, maybe some caramel or something else to really make it that bold gold. Now, while I don't know what a pocket full of gold doubloons looks like, I do know what I expect this to smell like, which is basically every uni party I ever went to when I was younger. So let's give it a smell and see if I'm right. Yeah, I was pretty right. That smells almost exactly like I expected it to, and definitely brings back memories of staying up all night, going out to clubs, rather than studying for what it was that I should have been doing at uni. It's got some faint hints of vanilla in there, but not really any of the other spices. It's pretty sweet, but not in the way that you want it to be. So if you imagine like fruit sweetness to be something that's pretty natural, this is not that. It does not smell like a fruity kind of sweetness. It smells more like cake batter. It's got that really artificial kind of sweetness rather than naturally coming from what it is. There's also a tiny bit of a tingling sensation in my nostrils from the alcohol, but again, since it's only 35%, it's really not that present. Even when I get my nose real deep into the glass, there's no real burn, it's just kind of a tickle inside. There might be like a dash of oak in there as well, but I think that's actually just me imagining it because it's what I expect there to be, rather than actually being present there. Now it's time to give this bad boy a taste and relive the memory of me doing shots as an 18-year-old. Oh yeah, it's been quite a while since I've done that. There's definitely a lot more flavor in this when you drink it than when you smell it. So when I was smelling it, there was faint hints of flavor, but as soon as you drink this, there is immediately a big, bold smack to the face of vanilla. I'm talking like you go get a vanilla milkshake and it's just all vanilla. The whole thing. There's definitely a smoothness to it that is not unpleasant. It doesn't really extend down into the throat or anything like that. It pretty much stays in the mouth, and yeah, it's just overpoweringly vanilla. So on that initial burst of flavor, it definitely tastes like a cheap rum, and that's probably because it is. After that, it gives way to more of that kind of cake batter flavor, and it almost tastes like you've been licking the spoon after you've mixed a cake. Like, it's definitely not as bad as I remembered, because I haven't had this for quite some time, but I don't think I'm going to be having it again for a while. So we still have a whole bunch in the glass here, and I don't want to take too many more sips of it, so I think I'm going to go old school. I'm going to just try and suck it up and go for the whole thing all at once, like I would have if I was 10 years younger. So cheers, join in if you want, and here we go. It's not that hard to shot, but it's not that great to shot either. But my glass is now empty, so that means we can move on to the next drink, which is going to be a Captain and Cola, and hopefully that will take some of this flavor out of my mouth and make it a little bit more bearable. Alright, we're going to make our first cocktail from the Tropical Rum Society, and it's pretty much as simple as the name implies. We've got Captain, we've got Cola, and we got a lime wedge for a little bit of extra flavor in there. Now, I don't have anything to actually measure these out, so we're just going to go freehand style, and we'll just add in a bit of Captain there. Next up, we've got our Cola, and I've gone with the lovely Coca-Cola. Isn't it satisfying when you have something carbonated and you open it for the first time? We've got our Captain, we've got our cola, we mix them together, and that's pretty much it. We've got our liquid ingredients in there, we've got our lime wedge. You know what, I'm going to give it a little bit of a squeeze to let some of that lime juice out. Drop that in. Always love it when it fizzes. Let's give it a taste. Oh yeah, that takes me back to my party days for sure. I'm actually pretty glad right now that I'm filming this video by myself, because I just know that if there was someone else here, they'd be telling me that I need to scull this. I mean, someone down in the comments might have already told me to scull it. You might have been that person about to go and post that. But I'm just going to sit here, I'm going to relax and enjoy my Captain and Cola. And if you want to join me by making one of your own, feel free to do so. If you do end up making a Captain and Cola, or if you just try some of the Spice Gold by itself, let me know what your thoughts are down in the comments below. I'm always interested to hear what other people think. And if you want to subscribe to the channel, that would be great, because it means that I won't have to make you walk the plank. That's going to do it for the Captain Morgan Spice Gold. I'm going to go get this over onto the shelf. I'm going to finish off my Captain and Cola, and then I'll see you next week for the next meeting.